productivity, winning strategies, and aligning employer-employee goals. If this sounds like something your business could use more of, then you've come to the right place. The Business Mechanic Show with your host, Vaughn Sigmund. Let Vaughn show you how to develop, improve, and jumpstart your business. So now, please welcome the host of The Business Mechanic, Vaughn Sigmund.
To drive sales and sustain a successful business, there must exist a sales culture that revs up salespeople's morale. Without this, it'll be hard to rally salespeople in support of the company's values, their goals, achieving business expectations, and being able to be a role model for what the business stands for. In this tactic, we're going to discuss how to build a sales culture that is both positive and engaging and encouraging for salespeople to achieve success and thrive. We'll delve into the importance of clear core values, embracing your company's history and mission, fostering passion and excitement, effective communication as always, and continuous learning and development. Let's start by discussing making sure you're clear and they're clear on the company's core values. How do you do that? First of all, let's talk about what the core values are if you're not familiar with that. The core values of a business define how the company operates, what it stands for. It's essential to have or establish core values that reflect the business's culture, beliefs, purpose. It's a rallying cry. It's how we do business around here. And remember, probably the most important team to embrace this, display this, is our sales team, because they act as the face of the organization. And it's responsible for building and maintaining customer relationships. And also, it's really important because they're the ones that bring in the business and keep things running around here. So they must embody the company's core values along with their belief systems to build trust and credibility with your customers and each other. So take the time to include, collaborate with your sales team, making sure they embrace, understand, embody your company's core values and beliefs. Communicate them frequently, reinforce them through your sales training programs, your one-on-one meetings, your team meetings. Your core values should be an integral part of your team's DNA. And it should be seen and displayed in actions and decisions. So build a culture of passion and excitement, starting with making sure they're on top, ingrained, and displaying your company's core values. Now, moving to the next step in all this, on how to build a culture of passion and excitement. Get your team fired up, which is the key to keeping them motivated. When your workplace is full of energy and inspiration, top talent sticks around. It's heartbreaking to lose great salespeople. And when you have a high value, high passion, high excitement level within your sales team, they don't go anywhere. So make sure, and this isn't the first time you've heard this from me, make sure to celebrate wins and recognize the hard work your team puts in every day, as often during the course of the day as you possibly can. When everyone knows they're part of something bigger, the culture, the company's goals, and understands that what success looks like, if they know how to come to work each day and know what a good day looks like and go home at the end of the day, knowing whether they had a good day or not, they naturally perform better. They push harder. They achieve more. And the core of that is communication, not only by you, their sales manager, but by others in the organization, other departments, especially the executives within the organization. Good communication is crucial for any business to thrive. Make sure your sales team has the latest info on products, services, company news, and of course, their goals. They don't have to be numeric goals. It could be acquisition goals. It could be location goals. It could be a lot of different goals. It's not just sales. And make sure you're keeping the communication lines open. Always asking for feedback, include them, and really listen to them as I've spoken with you previously on. And help them help you look for ways to improve, continuous improvement. And through your regular meetings, whether they're one on one or with the whole team, help keep the conversation flowing and boost collaboration. Don't create a monologue during the course of your meetings. It needs to be a dialogue. And if it's in a group setting, collaboration and dialogue amongst all the team members, including everyone, absolutely everyone, is crucial. That builds a high value culture. Building a sales culture that truly inspires, that's going to make you that much more successful as a sales manager and as a company because it aligns your sales team with the company's expectations, their values, and it keeps the energy high. It takes effort, obviously. It takes dedication, discipline to create a successful sales culture. You're in charge. Nobody else can do it but you. But let me tell you, the rewards of a motivated, passionate sales team are so worth it. I've seen it in all different varieties. And let me tell you, the environments where sales managers really got this dialed in, they're unstoppable. And everybody's having a good time, even in bad times. That's especially the time that you want to have this great culture because that will help you get through the tough periods that all businesses face. And by creating a culture that inspires and aligns with your company's values, that's one of the most powerful ways to drive success. Sounds easy, but it's really hard because it does take, as I mentioned previously, a lot of discipline. You have to regularly be talking about it, and it has to be clearly defined. You have to display those. You need to authentically walk the talk. They need to know the company's mission, where the company's going. This builds excitement. They're contributing to this growth of an organization, something much bigger than them. You want them to feel like they are part of something bigger. That's a huge point in this tactic. You add in effective communication and continuous learning, and your team's going to be focused and motivated to hit your organization's goals like never before. And believe me, the work you put into building this kind of culture, man, does it pay off. When you have a motivated, passionate, high performing team, it's so amazing. The only person who can do it is you, the sales manager. And having this thriving team is crucial for your success. They are no better than you. They will perform no better than the culture you create for them to be successful in. You can put a ceiling on it, but that ceiling can continuously be raised because you can continue to feed the enthusiasm, feed the excitement, encourage growth, encourage success. That's why you want to create this environment. And so you need to intentionally cultivate a positive and empowering. We talked about that earlier. A positive and empowering sales culture. And when you have that, as you're growing, you're going to add salespeople. You're going to add sales team members. And now you can attract top notch talent, which creates a whole new dynamic within the organization. So here's some more critical steps to creating this all important high performance culture. One, empathy. Way too often I come across sales managers, sales leaders that just are too hardcore. They're just too hard. And you need to open your hearts because it's going to open your wallet. You need to add in a huge dose of empathy into your leadership style. You need to understand the needs of your salespeople. And it's one of the very important steps of cultivating this thriving sales team culture. Understand the needs of your salespeople, whether it's financial, psychological, the rewards they're getting, how you're speaking to them, how they're speaking to each other, the standards of which are displayed day in and day out, the fairness of your organization, especially with your team. That's essential for the motivation and success. I'll tell you a quick story around this. Understanding the needs of your salespeople. I've had a ongoing argument for, a disagreement, let's call it that, with one of my clients, CEO of a very successful company, but he's a hardcore guy. He's a hard charging, early in the morning, late at night, every day he can work kind of guy. And he's also someone who's very concerned about somebody taking advantage of him. And they have a salesperson, their number one salesperson, whose girlfriend is about to have their first child. And he's going to take paternity leave. Perfectly legal. The state we live, in fact, requires it. He's going to take his full paternity leave, which is weeks and weeks. And so we've been negotiating how to handle this salesperson's time away in paternity because A, he does not want to work during the course of his paternity leave. He wants to be able to work remotely. Sounds easy and fair. But the CEO is very concerned about them not working when they're working remotely. See, he's not a believer in remote work. He doesn't believe that people work as hard remotely as they do in person. He feels like somebody's got to be watched all the time. That's a big issue. I'm encouraging him to work through. And the salesperson has requested this. They haven't answered him. Let's get back to the emotional part of this, the empathetic part of this. He's got a lot of big pressure on him right now. He's got a baby coming. His life's about to change dramatically, all for the better. But he still has his job he has to do. He still has to make money. And he's waiting on the answer. So the sooner we can get this young man the answer to his request around working remotely, the better. That's one emotional element. But secondly, let's say the CEO decides not to do that. How is that going to impact this top number one salesperson? It's going to impact them very negatively because of some unwarranted concern by the boss. And so the EQ level in these kind of situations is enormous. It's so important of taking the needs in. And I did a little math with this sales manager to help him convince his CEO. If we lose this salesperson, I think there's a better than 50-50 chance if you do not grant the wish, the request of him to be able to work remotely while on paternity leave, you run a better than 50-50 chance of losing this individual. And financially, how's that going to affect the company? Because it's not just about remote work. It's maybe a $12 to $15 million impact on the business. That's how much this gentleman's doing, but actually more than that in sales each year. That's what he's responsible for. And let's say, okay, we'll hire another salesperson. They'll come in, they'll fill those shoes. How long and how deep is the dip between departure of your top salesperson and the success of a new person? Could be months, could be years. That's going to cost millions of dollars. So it's a multi-million-dollar decision from a business standpoint, but it all comes down to what I'm speaking on right here, which is Keep your salespeople, and this goes to almost anybody in the organization, but especially the sales team. You cannot manage a sales team like any other team in the organization, and keeping their needs in mind is essential. Because if you're not doing this, without this, your team's going to be stressed. It's going to become negative. Nothing's worse for sales success than negative emotion floating around a sales team. I can point in every dip in every successful sales team, when it dips, there's some negative impact, there's some negative event that's happened. And that dip happens and it costs every company, it costs every team thousands and thousands of dollars. But very often we're just being too hardcore, driven by our standards. Think more because it's a financial decision. And you don't want stressed out negative salespeople working for you. There's so many things that your sales team is concerned with emotionally: rejection, fear of competition. They want to avoid humiliation. In the worst case scenario, they may even seek revenge, right? Think about this top salesperson who has a very strong 15 million-ish book of business. Some other company would hire him like this, like this. And what do you think he's going to do when he moves someplace else? He's going to try to take away as much business and share as many secrets if he leaves negatively as he possibly can. There's so much risk where it's, if we can just think more with the heart and the needs and the emotions of our team members, we're protecting ourselves financially. So while making these kind of decisions, you may have some kind of short-term win, but the atmosphere is going to degrade. I'll move on from that. As a sales manager, to have this thriving, high level, high performance team that's inspired, you need to make sure you have a program that cultivates positivity and motivation. One that people look forward to coming to work to every day. So by the time you understand the needs of your sales team, the next step is to make sure you design your leadership style, maybe a program that cultivates what they feel and see is positive and motivational. And one of those is offering recognition, maybe even status, achieving status levels as they grow in their sales outputs. Maybe even opportunities to contribute to plans and strategies. You'll see exponential, you'll see growth in your sales team's performance. Combining clear public rewards like praise, compensation, status levels, that fosters a sense of personal responsibility within your team, an esprit de corps, and that results in a development of a unique, tightly knit community. And you love that. Believe me, if you have never had that, you're going to love that. And then in conjunction with that, you need to make sure you're fostering a performance-based sales culture. Every thriving sales team is a meritocracy where the best salespeople earn rewards. They achieve status. President's Club, Diamond Club, All-Time Achievers Club, whatever you want to call that they can move up and get different levels of recognition and status levels. Maybe it affects their commission levels. I love tiered commission levels. Sell more, earn more. You can achieve this by creating what I call a performance-based sales culture. Then it simply means your team should be rewarded for achieving their goals. and not for just putting in effort. But those goals have to be achievable. We've talked about that before. Big mistake is putting goals out there that are unachievable. Please keep that in mind. That's keeping your sales team's emotions and needs in perspective. And as a sales manager, please don't just focus on the KPIs. The numbers are indicators of behaviors. I've said this multiple times. More phone calls have never equated to more sales. That is, unless the proper techniques are deployed during the course of those phone calls. So if I'm only looking at a number and I'm not looking at the behavior of what takes place during these phone calls or meetings or presentations or whatever we're measuring, more meetings, more presentations, more phone calls is not going to get you more business. They have to be skilled at what they do during the course of that action. Focus on behaviors, not numbers. Focus on the conversation, not the number. It's about the quality of the phone call, the quality of the meeting, not the number of meetings. Never forget this. Slow your roll when you start getting upset when phone calls dip. You can have less phone calls and more sales. I've worked with salespeople that close at 80, 90%. Do they need more calls? No, because they're beating everybody's butt in sales. They're so darn good at what they do when they're doing it. So focusing solely on the KPI is poison. It's poison to inspiration. It's poison to the motivation of your sales team. Yes, they need guidelines. They need to be clear objectives that are achievable. Measure their progress. Celebrate successes, but celebrate behaviors. Don't just get hung up on the inputs. Celebrate the outputs. And I don't care if they make 5 or 500 calls or set 1 or 100 meeting appointments. It's the outcome of those phone calls and those meetings. It's the results. Then it's job done. And in addition to this, you want to create an environment where salespeople can learn from each other, share best practices. I talked about that in a previous tactic, that they feel empowered to make decisions. And of course, they have to have some guidelines around what decisions. We're always looking for the best outcomes. And yes, templates and scripts are essential for people to learn and to practice within a sales process. That's a starting point. But because they don't say it exactly like you doesn't mean that it's wrong. What's the outcome? If they're not getting the outcome, they need to work on their script. Whatever they're doing is working. Hands off. Don't try to change or fix what's not broken. As long as their way works. It may sound very obvious to some of you listening to this, but I see it too often. I have to bring it up. If it's not the sales manager's way, they're wrong. And that's wrong. But if their way does not achieve the expected outcomes, then of course, you're going to have to work on a prescribed script or approach. In the end, all I'm trying to say, have this high performance culture, this motivated team, being an inspired sales manager, it's the behavior, not the number. I had an interaction with a CEO of a small business earlier this week. And we discussed how he has a salesperson who is frustrated that they're not making enough money. And it's human nature very often to blame it on the product or the company or the industry or the economy. And my first question is, what's the quality of their phone calls? What's the quality of their presentations? When is the last time you sat in with a meeting with them and a client that you observed it? See, sales drop and behaviors drop. Salespeople are just, it's very common in the sales world just to have a good behavior. But as they become more and more successful, they'll start shortcutting or skipping steps or eliminating things. and they'll see their results start dwindling. And rarely does a human look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong." Now they're going to start looking for the exit doors to blame this on. And it's usually just them. But the only way you catch it if you're conducting regular observations with your sales team, turning those into coaching sessions, turning those into reward sessions, talking about all the great things you saw. But if it's not so great, you're their coach. A lot of salespeople don't like to be observed because they're not used to being observed. That's just it. The more they get observed, the more used to, comfortable they will become in being observed, being rode along with, sat in on meetings or sat in on Teams calls or Zoom calls. It's not you micromanaging, it's you being a coach. You can't fix what you don't know about. So, yes, their human nature, their independence doesn't want you around observing them. I get it. But the more you do it, the less that seems punitive. The more you do it with the best salespeople, the more you're learning the behaviors of your best sales team members, their best practices, their vital behaviors, so that you can help coach those who aren't as good at that particular area. Keep that in mind. How do you learn the sales team members who outperform everybody else? What are they doing that's different? And what can you take from that and help others learn? But if you're not sitting in on their meetings, presentations, phone calls, you'll never know. You can't help the underperformers. You have one way, and that's the way you know. There's more than one way, and you may have a dozen salespeople are doing it a dozen different ways. Some are going to have better outcomes than others. Culturally, you want them sharing their best practices. Culturally, you need to be a coach, and the only way you can coach is watch the game. Think about professional athletes. As much as I dislike using sports analogies, but the best all have coaches. They all practice every day. They have a coach on the sideline that's giving them the guidance and feedback. When they win a game or they get on a winning streak, coach doesn't just stay home. They're still there working with them. It's not punitive. It's how we get better. And you, as their coach, having all these data points of how things work and under different scenarios and different people and different methodologies, the better you're going to be as a coach. You've got a deeper playbook to insert. At the end of the day, it's the behavior, not the number, that creates a very positive culture, and you'll be much more inspiring. I'm shocked at how many organizations don't do this, and that's invest in continuous learning and development for their sales team members. By doing so, by investing in your team's professional development, you're going to help them thrive. But many get zero to minimal amount of sales training. And you, as a sales leader, need to close that up. You need to find a way to be continually training your salespeople. It can be an outside company, yes. We're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But you've got to keep coaching and developing your sales team, ongoing training, team building activities. You've got to provide them insights from industry experts on a regular basis. This needs to be common. It can't be an event. It needs to be regular. This shows that you're genuinely committed to their success. And the outcome, the byproduct of that is you're keeping your salespeople up to date on the latest trends. You're sharpening their saw. They're developing their own best practices. And to make the most of this, you need to weave the content from sales training, from any sales training sessions, into regular meetings. What gets talked about gets improved. Whatever the sales training topic is of the week or the month, you need to talk about that with regular interactions, your one-on-ones or your team meetings. Discuss what they've learned, discuss how they're applying it, brainstorm together on how to tackle the challenges using this new skill. The more you talk about it, the better it's going to get. If training is an event and then they leave the training interaction and just go back their old way, you just threw money out the window. You threw that hour of training time out the window times however many people sat in there. It's all about the application. You've got to get commitments, and then you, as the coach, need to observe and make sure those commitments are being put in place. And this way, the training becomes a practical part of their day to day work. Investing in your team's growth is like investing in your company's future. Continuous learning is, again, sharpening the sword. It builds skills, boosts knowledge, strengthens confidence, courage, all of which are naturally crucial for their success, your success. So make sure you're offering training. It can be off the shelf training, it can be a sales training company. Do it in groups, but offer training on the regular. And understand that training takes time. It's not a car wash. You don't drive in dirty, drive out clean, all's good. It can't be an event, a task. Training only works if it is talked about, observed, giving feedback. I'm going to talk more about that in just a second. That's the only way they are going to adopt whatever skill they learned in that opportunity to learn. So offer training that focuses on skill building, create mentorship opportunities, have your best players work with some of your underperforming players, and provide access to valuable resources. See, when you nurture a culture of ongoing learning, you're not just setting your team up for continuous improvement and success, you're also creating an environment, a culture. We're back to the topic. A successful sales team culture where team members appreciate the effort you're putting into their development. And this appreciation leads to respect, synergy, a strong esprit de corps within the team. Everyone feels more connected and motivated and ready to tackle challenges together. And they know that there's part of something bigger. Your investment, your company's investment in their growth, your time by spending time observing them, giving them feedback, that's an investment. And the biggest excuse for not doing it, I don't have time. Statistically, most sales managers in general spend 70% of their time on the things that are outcomes of poor performance. Think about that for a minute. If I can improve my team, I have less poor performance. I have to make that investment. It is an investment in your time. It's an investment in their growth. It's an investment in your growth. And if you make this investment of an hour a person a week or a couple hours a month per person, it's going to be reflected in a more cohesive, higher performing team that's aligned with the company's goals with higher level respect and trust. Whatever the method of training, you are the key to all of it. Humans learn and retain only by the following. These are the four tenets of teaching. They hear it, they see it, they do it, they practice it, and then they have to receive feedback. That's the power that the importance of you observing them. We learn best by doing. More importantly, when we do, we get some feedback. That's the game film. Because going out there and practicing it imperfectly will create imperfections. They have to practice perfectly. And the only way they'll know, you'll know that it's perfect practice is by you watching them and giving them encouraging feedback. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes an investment of your time. There's no shortcut around this. It's essential. And understand everyone progresses at their own pace, so don't lose your pace. Don't lose your patience. The key to steady improvement, a high performing sales culture, is you, your investment in their continuous development. And the best way to train and coach your team, we talked about this in a previous tactic, is role playing. Observe them in real life scenarios, but before they get into a real life scenario, spend the time role playing the new key behavior that will enhance their sales ability. Many sales managers and salespeople fall into the trap of thinking that more training is better. I'll just keep training. I'm going to watch a training video every day. I'm going to read every book on sales I can find. And that is very important. It's essential. But on its own, just training is not going to get anybody anywhere. You can take all the training in the world. If you're not practicing and perfecting what you've learned, all that time spent in training is pretty much worthless. Role play it, practice it. That's the powerful tool. Now, I don't want to just keep dredging this up, but I cannot stress to you how important role playing is. Most sales teams don't do it. Most sales managers don't require it. Change that, and you'll change the outcome of your sales team. It's just not about hearing the theory, it's about putting it into practice, getting feedback, refining the approach. It helps cement the skills your team needs, requires, must have to succeed. And ensure that whatever investment you're making in time and money is really paying off. You're getting an ROI on it. So refer back to my role play tactic that I introduced earlier. And then finally, I'm like a broken record. Celebrate, recognize, celebrate your team's success. It's the most important thing. You've heard me say through all of this, these are the rocket fuel of sales success. You must celebrate their accomplishments, no matter how minor. Celebrating your team's accomplishments isn't just about boosting morale. It taps into something deeply rooted in human nature. From the earliest days of human development, recognition from both our peers and our leaders is crucial for our self-esteem, our confidence, our courage. An acknowledgement of an individual or a team's success by both bosses and peers, that plays a significant role in reinforcing a person's value and contribution within the group. Psychologically, this goes back to the basics of human development from early on. And if you have children, you've observed this many times. Humans seek approval. They seek recognition. They require it. They need it not only from you as a parent, you as a boss, but they also need it from their community. There's a deep need for acknowledgement. It's not just a desire for praise. It's a fundamental aspect of how we build our self-worth and confidence. And when leaders and peers recognize and celebrate achievements, it confirms that individuals' efforts are noticed and valued, appreciated, and working, which in turn boosts self-esteem. And self-esteem is a really good thing in sales. So in the workplace, this acknowledgement becomes even more critical, especially with sales teams. Because when the team members know their successes are recognized and being appreciated, it reinforces their belief in their abilities, the value that they have that they're bringing to the team. It encourages them to continue striving for excellence, knowing that their hard work is appreciated. This positive reinforcement doesn't just benefit the individual, it creates a ripple effect throughout the team. Coming back to our culture, fostering this culture of mutual respect and high performance. And moreover, when a leader acknowledges team achievement, it strengthens the bond between the team members and you, the leader. It shows that you, the leader, is in tune with the team's efforts and values their contributions. This positive interaction builds trust, loyalty, respect that you'll never have a high-performing team without. So celebrating successes, as think I've said in almost every single tactic. So we're coming to the end of this. You probably have it by now. Hopefully you're weaving it in to your daily activities. It promotes this sense of belonging and community within the team. It opens their ears to advice and direction. It reminds everyone that they're part of something bigger than just their individual efforts, that we're all working towards a common goal. And when we can get the team, this collective acknowledgement, it builds a cohesive team where members are supporting each other, they uplift each other. This is the environment and culture you're striving for. Everyone feels empowered. And then that motivates, inspires them to contribute their best work. And you're in charge, my friend. So, in essence, recognizing and celebrating achievements is not just a nice to have, it's the single most powerful tool that aligns with fundamental human psychology. It helps individuals feel value, boost their confidence, creates a positive and supporting environment. And your whole team will just absolutely thrive from that. But again, it's on your shoulders. You must integrate this practice into your leadership approach. You're not just building a successful sales team, you're fostering a culture. You're creating a high performance culture that will drive outstanding results. And that is your job. Yeah, it may not be specific in your job description, but believe me, it's your job. You must build a thriving sales team culture, empowering and building confidence. And again, let me not minimize the fact that the better your sales culture, the easier it is to attract top talent. Build this flourishing sales team. Understand your team's needs. Implement a program that fosters positivity and motivation. It can't be legislated. It can only be created by your behaviors. Create a performance-based sales culture, the meritocracy. Invest in their professional development. Celebrate your team's successes. And this approach will create an environment that inspires and drives your salespeople to deliver consistent, excellent results. It's essential that building this thriving sales team culture is crucial to your not only your team's success, but your company's success. It's not hard to do. It just takes focus and practice and discipline. That's the hard part, is to stay in the game, get up and get back in there. And they're only going to be as positive as you are. Please take this information that you've learned from today. And if you want a more resourceful, higher performing sales team, create this culture. And with that culture, your team, as it grows and builds and you grow and build, will be unstoppable. Now get after it. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of the Business Mechanic Show. If today's content resonates with you, then you're going to love what we have to offer. From performance coaching designed to enhance your potential, to executive coaching that guides leaders to steer their ships towards greater success. Are you in sales management or looking to fortify your leadership acumen? Dive into our sales management training and coaching. Not only will it sharpen your strategies, but it will also provide you an ROI that's undeniable. Remember, the best investment you can make is in yourself and your team. And the best part, prices start at just $47 per month, making top-tier coaching and training accessible for everyone. Your growth, both personally and professionally, can have a ripple effect, the one I call the transformational triangle of change. Thanks once again for tuning in. And remember, every business needs a tune-up every now and then. Let the Business Mechanic Show be your guide. Check out our website, rdltraining.com, to discover more details on our programs and coaches. We have a link in the show notes to guide you there. Until next time, we're out of here.